welcome back to Fake Deep Thinking, just a group of friends sitting down talking about the world. Today we have with us John.
What's up?
Doc.
Yo.
And myself, Eugene. All right, so today we're going to start off with this clip, a little small segment from a Wendy Williams episode where she talks about the Swavy, right? I'm saying that right? The Swavy death. And...
oh, fuck, we're being recorded.
You're doing a video now, you forgot?
My bad, boy. Rest in peace, bro. I didn't know. I don't know who you are. I really didn't.
I mean, I didn't know. I'm not on TikTok. The only reason why I have TikTok is I'm trying to collect clips so
I'm
we
a
can
spy.
put them on TikTok. But
That's why I'm on TikTok. I spy.
what? You spy? I don't know what that
My
means.
little one.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. That good point. But from my understanding, what happened, he was shot. He's 19 years old. He was famous on TikTok for doing dances, memes, comedy stuff. And apparently, I don't know if it was last Monday. I think it was last Monday. He was shot. He was he was heading to the hospital. I don't know if he was on the way to the hospital or when he got to the hospital, he finally succumbed to his wounds, but he died from a gunshot. And I don't know too much details about that. But what the reason why we're bringing up the Wendy Williams thing is because her little segment about it, I watched it before the podcast with Doc, and it was weird. So we're gonna react to it and talk about it. It's just her whole. I don't know. It's just weird. Let's watch it. And let's talk about it. So here we go.
She's so out of touch, and her body proportions are off.
No idea who this is. Neither does Norman. Neither does one person in this building.
His face.
Sus does. Do you know who
Is she
Swavy is?
angry with TikTokers?
Clap.
Jealous.
Yeah,
Do you
like
know who Swavy is?
nobody. How do you start with nobody knows who this is? Is she?
Sus?
She's reading this and she's going on.
It's not my cup of tea. That I got going on right now.
Well, he's a TikTok star. He's got more followers than me.
Okay.
2.5 million.
I can't wait to talk about this. Oh my god.
On TikTok, but on
On-
Instagram, you have more followers.
On Instagram, you have more followers.
All right, reaffirmate. She's queen. We know it. Okay.
Son Kevin would say no one uses Instagram anymore.
What?
And as far as TikTok, I don't use that at all. I don't know what that is. I don't want to be involved. So here he is.
She looks laugh like this whole thing is odd.
He's 19, and he was murdered Monday morning.
Ain't nobody say why, Wendy.
MediaTakeout.com. Hi, Fred. The killer confessed
Hi, Fred.
on Instagram Live. He said that Swavy invited him out and alleges that Swavy and the friends that were with Swavy jumped him and tried to kill him. So he had a gun and did the killing. So somebody's dead. The guy who was invited over, he's dead.
Swavy is, dead.
Swavy is now dead.
Correct.
All those followers. Yeah, that's really only 19 years old. And by the way, the friend who came over was an admitted drug dealer.
The audience don't even know what to do.
No one.
Yeah.
How does this segment end?
You know,
Let it ride.
another one of those stories. On a lighter note.
What?
Dude, the shift, I don't get it.
That's
Like,
how it is.
what the hell?
That's how it is. She goes on to the next topic, which is I don't know what, but I don't
Can I
care.
bring out one point? Swavy has more followers than me, 2.5 million followers on TikTok, not on Instagram. Well, like my son says, nobody uses Instagram. I don't use TikTok. So how does he have more followers on you on a platform you don't use? Why are you comparing your followers if it's on a platform you just said you do not? How does he have more followers? You don't have a TikTok.
It was an unnecessary point to make.
She doesn't even have a TikTok to begin with. So for her to even say he has more followers than me, then she starts out, does anybody know who this is? Nobody in this room. Is she jealous? Is she angry? Is she upset that this young man had that many followers? Like, what? Then look at her, man, yo, if I really start talking about Wendy, look at her proportions, son. She got 7-foot long legs, 12-foot long arms. She built like a tarantula. Her booty got vacuum suction going on somewhere. I don't know what's going on with her body. She's always punching up. Like, she can't even stand during her show. Like, she walking on 2 prosthetics. But she want to sit. This is my first time listening to the whole clip. And I'm just, the transition out onto lighter news. What was the purpose?
No, that's why it was like that was weird. Like, what was the purpose of that? Like, were you trying to make a testament to him, like a homage? If that was your intention, that was terrible. That was
She kind
terrible.
of just leads it to be like more gang violence, and then she's like, all right, let's go into the next one.
But I feel like it's
Also,
unfair
the
to
guy
call
was
it
a-
gang violence, though.
Then she said, also, the guy was a known drug dealer. Probably selling.
But that's the way she's painting it.
Exactly.
And that's actually why like everyone's going off for backlash. Because she's like, do you know him? Oh, well,
yeah, you
he's
shouldn't.
inviting this guy over, and also the guy that came over and shot him is a drug dealer. So they were doing drugs
Then
because they're TikTok famous.
They were probably doing weed. Let's be honest.
Come on, son. And then let's be real here. Not even real here. Her the first word she said after he died was, all those followers.
That's true. That right after, right? Which is weird. Is that all you think about and care about? You really thought first off you had like.
Man, find a picture of Wendy Williams in a bikini
No, I don't
or
want to do
standing
that.
up.
I don't want to do that.
Man,
It sounds like standing up.
it will be wild. It will be, man.
We're
It
not-
sounds
we're not
like
doing that.
like she definitely was shaming like all of whatever
them.
he built, like all of the followers for this person, and she just kind of went off of an assessment of their lifestyle and was just like, oh, look at those 2.3 million that are worshiping this kind of behavior, and then just kind of dismissed it.
I'm gonna attempt here to defend.
You're gonna
What
be
Wendy
7
was trying
foot
to
tall
do.
by the end of this stretch.
So, please.
9th inning stretch.
So, the only part I'm going to try to defend is her comment about the followers. Because everything else I really don't understand. But I think what she was trying to do when she mentioned the followers was he amassed a level of clout that he could have utilized to monetize and solidify a future. I think that was her intentions with the follower count mention. I don't think it was anything malicious behind it than just a really terrible way of trying to insinuate you built a solidified future foundation with these fans and now kaput.
Nope. Because the reason it's no.
I tried,
You
man.
tried. Yeah, but the reason why it's no is because she brought herself into the situation. The second she compared herself, it became a thing.
It was you're right. Honestly, that's a very good point. I agree with you. The foundation she set was
Nobody knows him.
nobody knows him and he has more followers than me on a platform I don't use.
Yeah. Well, see,
What a weird way to start the
I kind of got
segment.
a hint of that vibe to what Gene was saying when she said it, but John's also right that like the rest of the point or the rest of the setup for this point doesn't lean into that well enough.
I think she was reacting as she was like, she knew about the story, but I think the way she emoted during the telling of the topic or bringing up the information was actually just raw, even though like not raw as in
There's no preparation. It was just that.
not raw as in there wasn't preparation, but raw
Okay.
as in she didn't hold back.
Okay.
Like this is just my honest. I'm just judging it based off what I'm reading right now. Some black kid, 2.5 million followers. And I'm not saying she's saying it to be race. I'm just describing him. Some black kid, 2.5 million followers. I don't have that. Y'all gave him all this opportunity or whatever, and I don't even have that. Well, look at it. It's dead now. So you guys for following him is a waste. All of it is a waste. It's just a waste. Oh, and he likes drugs. Huh?
So another thing that bothers me too, and it's very apparent through her comments and the way she tackled this, like John's honestly trying to point out right now, was it seems like the only reason why she tackled this topic was to capitalize on the 2.5 million followers he has. The clout.
100%.
I'm going to mention his name, talk about his death in a very poor way, and I'm going to get some traction from this.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And
I'm pretty sure I saw they want her to get like her show taken down because of this. It's not going to happen. But
No.
guess what? People are now watching her because of this.
And she's mad in sense like
She's getting publicity
and Wendy Williams.
by walking on this dead man's grave.
When it comes to
I was intense. I'm sorry, but man.
Wendy, when it comes to topics about black people, Wendy Williams tends to do the clickbait point of view, or she's never posting anything positive about anything, really. You know what I'm saying?
So
and
a
it seems,
grifter?
but it seems like she targets black people's drama and shit too. Like, she talks about rappers splitting up. She may not talk about Amber Heard and AH and Tom Cruise. You know what I'm saying? But
This
she
guy
might
said
talk
Tom
about
Cruise.
yeah. Tom got to say said Tom Cruise. Oh my God, Johnny Depp. My bad.
And you
Tom
said his
Cruise will
name too?
never be Johnny Depp, and I need to apologize to
Bro,
Johnny
you can
Depp.
say his name, bro.
Yeah, man. Johnny's name will be said. Johne.
He's not an evil wizard.
But yeah, it just seems like she targets. This isn't surprising. This is the same way, like, Wendy Williams is the same. She would have interviewed Leslie, whatever her name is, the same way that Grace did about Kobe. That's Wendy Williams. She would have brought up rape allegations after Kobe died. That's Wendy Williams. So
Did
this
she
isn't
actually do
surprising.
that?
Wendy Williams always does it. And then, man, Wendy Williams is horrible. She's just horrible.
Like, honestly, I wonder how the crowd, the audience feels, because that was a weird way to segue them into that. Like,
They baited her.
You're right, because first off, it seemed like she was about to enter a segment where she was going to the segment's called Hot Topics. It seemed like she was going to go into a very, I guess from your
Gossipy.
perspective, gossipy, negative little rant about this 19-year-old being a TikToker, right?
Mhm.
That's what it seemed like. She's like, he's just more followers than me. 19, on a platform I don't use. Like, the way she was building it up just seemed like, okay, she's about to go off for some stupid reason.
He was murdered.
And then suddenly drops, he was murdered. Even the audience was like, what? They
I
were so
wish
caught off
there was
guard. I
just
wanted to
one
see
person
I wanted to
said,
see the
"Why, Wendy?"
faces.
It would have been so funny
You
if
think
you
all
heard
the old
one
ladies-
person. Why, Wendy?
All the old ladies in the audience were like, I'm going to get my boys off of TikTok. I'm going to go
Right
home
now,
and get everyone off
dangerous.
TikTok.
They shooting on TikTok,
I don't know if I was part of the audience, I'd have felt like I just got baited.
100%. But also,
But
to
I would
part
never
of a
be on
Wendy
the
Williams,
I would never be on there. though.
Whoa, you've fallen in life. If you want to be on Wendy Williams' show, I'm not lying to you, bro. Her genre of
Damn.
talk show is so specific to, like, wickedness. It's just
I've only seen
it's hot takes
short
on-
short clips.
It's a whole bunch of hot takes on
The one that
people's
sticks out in my
lives.
mind is the one where she fainted, which was
The
hilarious.
Statue of Liberty, and nobody was sad for her. Can you imagine?
Okay, let's change.
Yeah,
topics.
I
Go on,
kind of,
Doc.
man, I just wish she would have had like a point at the end of it, where she'd have been like,
Yeah, right.
like just state the reason why you brought this up instead of just being like, oh, by the way, like this guy died and it's possible gang violence. Okay, on a lighter note, and be like, what the fuck?
Onto a lighter note.
That's honestly the most egregious part. The way she ended it was so disrespectful, or at least that's how I received it.
100%.
On
If I was his family, how would I take that?
I would be furious.
And like, you don't even now you're speaking on details of something. That's why I said the way she covers stuff is like hot takes on serious issues, and then she just moves on to it. She's like, whatever, has nothing to do with me. But
Well, I read an article that the family's actually publicly asking her to apologize.
she should.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I don't
yeah,
know if she's
she
responded
But
or not.
Wendy
though.
Williams is so
probably should.
fake.
She probably should.
Oh my God. Just Gene, if we have time, bikini or standing up, Wendy Williams. I'm telling you.
Let's just
Gene.
get it out of this way.
I'm telling you, Gene.
Because I don't
then
want
you're
to
gonna look at how is this Tyrannosaurus Rex goddamn judging people? Oh yeah, you went all the way there.
Because I don't
Cool.
want to do it later in the segment. And then
Yes, Gene. This is her.
That's not her.
Okay.
That's not her.
Like a goddamn flamingo out the
That's
water.
not her. Is that really her with the tattoo down
Yes.
there too? No, it's not.
Yes, Gene. Look at the chain. What letter does that say?
It's a W.
It's not for Wednesday.
Okay, we satisfied this. I'm getting. I don't.
You
I
see?
don't, I don't
Now
do
how
that
dare
first
that
one.
bitch?
I don't do
Right?
first place.
How dare her? How dare her? How dare her look like that? And then get on that show.
We're sorry. We're sorry. Okay.
Man, Gene.
I don't want to do it.
Woo.
Okay.
Anyway, trans people deserve rights too. Continue.
On a lighter note,
What?
Bill Cosby's been released.
On a lighter note.
On a lighter note, head ass.
Bill Cosby released after assault conviction overturned by Pennsylvania Supreme Court. So
I could sum this up and why he got released.
I was about
Really
to say,
simply.
let me read these few paragraphs and then we'll get to it, and then you can do your little summarization if like this was accurate or whatnot. Because honestly, I just heard about it. I didn't look into it. Because honestly, I mean, honestly, if this is wrong, whatever, like I just don't care.
Okay.
Is that wrong of me?
No. I don't care either. But I'll just say this: when Bill Cosby left the jail, he did it again.
Gosh, I should have never said it. All right, so the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned the indecent assault conviction of Bill Cosby on Wednesday and ordered his release from prison after finding that he was denied protection against self-incrimination. The court said that a prosecutor's decision not to charge Cosby, 83, in an earlier case opened the door for him to speak freely in a lawsuit against him, thinking he would not incriminate himself criminally. A second prosecutor later used the lawsuit testimony in a criminal jury trial, and that testimony was key in his conviction years later. Cosby was convicted on 3 felony counts of aggravated indecent assault in 2018 of drugging and assaulting Andrea Constant. Am I saying that right? Constant? In 2004, and was serving a 3 to 10 year sentence. He served nearly 3 years of the sentence. The state Supreme Court said Cosby cannot be retried on the same charges. He cannot be retried on the same charges. And let me read this last one and we'll talk about it. Quote, when an unconditional charging decision is made publicly and with the intent to induce action and reliance by the defendant, and when the defendant does so to his detriment, quote, and in some instances upon the advice of counsel, denying the defendant the benefit of that decision is an affront to fundamental fairness, according to the High Court opinion authored by Justice David Wetch. All right, so go on with your thing.
Long story short, the first DA that tried to charge him didn't have enough evidence to charge him. So basically said, if I can get you to admit to these things on file, you can never be tried for these crimes, hoping that the people who he wronged would be able to file a civil suit and then just civilly get some money, or whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. But the next DA comes in and says, fuck that shit. I'm going to use the testimony that you only gave because you were promised clemency,
Which is
wrong, as the evidence. So the Supreme Court basically threw out the evidence, and without that evidence, there's no case.
Yeah.
So that's essentially what happened. If you want to be mad at anybody, you have to blame the DA who chose to go about this way, or the first DA who chose to make a deal with him. But I'm sure that DA wouldn't have made a deal with Bill Cosby without talking to some of the victims, understanding that the victims wanted to file civil suits so that at least they can get some monetary compensation versus nothing in court where they can't prove anything. So that's why he was released. And he's on a tour. He's coming for people's necks. Bill Cosby hasn't been released and been humble or quiet about it. He's released and he's popping his shit.
What do you mean?
Like he wants to show. He's like doing interviews. He wants to show up places. He wants to do a tour. Like he's coming out. Anybody who spoke out in his defense, he's coming out and popping. Anybody who speaks, he's popping his shit right now. Like he really feels he was wrong. In a way, he was, but like if he admitted to it, doing what he did, he did.
You mean like a comedy tour?
Bro, I'm talking about he trying to bring everything back.
I don't even know how to feel about this. This is weird. It makes you kind of upset with the legal system because it's like.
Also, never liked Bill Cosby.
You failed. Yeah, I just never really cared, honestly. That I'll just go back to my first statement. I just don't care.
Cosby Show was good, important for black people growing up to see a whole family unit, a positive show. Fresh Prince, positive show. Those things were Family Matters, positive show. Those things were important. But Bill Cosby, the human being, he's always, y'all niggas sagging y'all pants. Why wouldn't they shoot y'all? Like, that's Bill Cosby. So, hey, man.
He really said that?
He typed shit. Like, yeah, he spoke really aggressively against, like, yeah. That's just how Bill Cosby's always been, a little Uncle Ruckus-y.
I'm just
Dude, he kind of looks at it. If you see that picture with the eyes,
Mm-hmm. The one
can see
one eye.
you could see the ruckus.
The wild shit is him doing that little
He
turn back
really-
that he
He
did.
really does.
For him to do that at 86, leaving.
So in that testimony, he like actually admitted to everything.
He admitted to the 3, I believe.
And so that's
'Cause
why they,
3 out of what,
they gave
40
him the lightest
something?
sentence.
Yeah, how much was the Time magazine? How many people were on the Time magazine cover? It was like 50 something.
It was
60.
something. It was a high number. That's all I know.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Auditorium.
Holy shit.
I didn't follow it initially.
Yeah, I didn't follow it either. I just kind of, I just knew it was happening in the background of my life, but it wasn't like one of the things I like tuned into and stuff like that.
Same. Same.
I didn't care enough. But he's out and he's popping his shit and he's the system. This is the system. This is how the system works.
So, do you think it was wrong or right? Maybe that's not the right way to phrase it. Of the
EA.
yeah, to try to use it against him because he obviously he's
Wrong.
he's guilty of it.
It was wrong and malicious. That person's intent had nothing to do with right and wrong.
He just wanted to win the case. Are you sure though?
He
'Cause now
wanted
you're
to
trying
put
to
Bill
assume
Cosby to jail. In jail.
and you don't,
Because you don't go through all of that school and all of that stuff. You're risking a lot by doing that. What he did was illegal.
But do you? So then that would give more credence to my argument than that he didn't do it because it would have won him the case. It did it because he thought it was the right thing to do. Then
No, he did it because it was high profile. How many people are like this
well,
are
then
out here?
then
You know
with
what I'm
the
saying?
with the fact that it's high profile, then he should have known that it would have been brought to light that what he did was illegal and would have threatened his license.
Not illegal to that extent.
Doesn't this, what did this threaten his license?
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
because he tried it in a different. The court that he tried it in is separate from the court that released him.
Okay.
This got released in the high Supreme Court. This is basically an appeal
Gotcha.
that got turned. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But the evidence that he used was deemed eligible by the court he was in. So it's not like he did something illegal. He just knew that that agreement was made and still went against it, which is wrong. Like, obviously, when
Okay.
you know
I
what
see
I'm saying?
what you're trying to say now. I understand. Now.
Yeah.
I understand.
But so to me, he just wanted the initial, I put Bill Cosby away. Because the same DA has not spoken out since.
It's been kind of in the shadows.
Shadows.
Okay.
But do you think he wouldn't have won the case if he'd have just gone?
No,
through
he
with
definitely
it?
wouldn't have won. Because the first DA couldn't win. They didn't have enough evidence. After how many years? Bill Cosby probably ain't had an erection in 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah, and all these accusations were old too, weren't they?
Yeah.
Like
Some were
old.
dating from the 60s, 70s.
How do you? Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
it-
How do you prove that? Or yeah.
The
Well,
only
no.
evidence they had was him admitting it because he told he wouldn't be tried or this wouldn't be used as evidence.
Yeah.
And they used it as evidence. It's like how cops are allowed to lie.
They ran his reputation in the
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. It's been a little difficult for me to follow because I didn't know too much about it. But yeah,
Same.
like
dirt. Same.
It's
that
a
makes
form of
sense.
entrapment.
Yeah, and so yeah, it makes sense why the Supreme Court, when he appealed it, would have reduced the sentence to the lightest form, and then just let him out.
For time served.
Yep.
Boom. So you technically did put him in
Do you
jail
think-
for 3 years.
Do you think his well, I do think he is. I don't think he wouldn't be. I would be, honestly. But angry? And do you think he's justified in that anger?
He's angry because
Yeah, I bet he's angry for sure.
he's a narcissist. And also because he's a sick man. So the anger isn't about him actually going to jail. The anger,
Going
obviously
against
it's
the
part of
agreement. You made the deal.
agreement.
You-
And so
yeah.
I said this thing that made me,
You bamboozled me.
boom, my ego. And now
I admit mine too. I would be pissed.
and now it's out with me admitting it. It's one thing where I can keep at least I can say no and stand on my own ground. No, I didn't do something. Now you have me on tape or whatever admitting to it, which is literally recording on tape, me admitting to it. I can't argue against that in the court of opinion, in the public court of opinion. That's where he's hurt.
So what's his intentions with going, as you said, coming out here? Like, he's trying to clear his name. Good luck, man. Like, I don't.
You see
I don't think
now.
he can. I think it's a difficult ethical question if the DA that took that entrapment did it because he wanted either the clout or felt like it was the only way to win. and to make him like pay for what he did if he's that convicted in the case. So I can totally see why he would do it and just kind of go for it. Regardless, like, if enough people, man, this is the hard part too, because it's like, if he truly is guilty of this, then yeah, he got some kind of uppance for it. But if he's not guilty at all of this, then this is also even more fucked.
And then there's also a possibility, like, he can say, I only said it because I was pressured into saying it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I didn't hear the recording though, but can you make the argument based on the recording?
They told me if I say this, that I won't have to deal with this stress anymore or deal with this thing going on anymore. And so I felt pressure to just admit to it, just so that way, blase. Like, you just, in the public court of opinion, there's no actual rules. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So he can say that. It's all emotional
manipulation, which is why I hate when people try to appeal to my emotions. That instantly puts me on super defense. Like, don't do that to me. Don't do that.
Pill Cosby.
All right, let's get past this, because I don't know too much about it, and I don't feel confident talking about it. If anything, it kind of makes me feel weird. It really does.
Why you say it like Cosby, bro?
All right, let's get into this funny old article that's gaining some traction because of the recent transracial stuff. Why I faked being black for med school. I wish y'all saw John's reaction when we did the topic discussion pre-podcast. His face. I caught him by complete surprise with this one.
Dude, this one really
what did he change to? Did he just shave his head?
He changed to a lesbian.
He shaved. All I did was look. He just shaved his head. Like, look, he just shaved his
head.
He
put some makeup.
That's all he did.
No, he definitely put makeup. He lightened his skin.
Huh. Put on some matte.
Look at his pure skin.
That's what it looks
look
like.
at his foundation all over his fucking face.
So let's. Where should I start? I think this gives a little background. Let's start. So, people
Slavery?
have asked for the last. People have asked for the last 15 years. Vijay, how did you come up with pretending like you're black to get into medical school? That was crazy, huh? Yeah, it was. But at the time, it seemed like a good idea. I had towed the line in school my whole life. I sailed through a prestigious prep school with great grades. Had always been a model student. But college, well, it was like Disneyland. So many rides to take, so much fun to have. I joined a fraternity and committed a great deal of effort to fun. But about halfway through, I had an epiphany and it scared the crap out of me. I wanted to be a doctor. Yes, it's kind of a cultural thing, but I'm also totally American. Grew up in Boston and even got middle name from JoJo White, one of the Celtic stars. My immigrant folks loved basketball, but I wanted to be a doctor mainly because my mom was a doctor and she was universally loved by her patients. I was immensely proud of her. One of my closest friends, nicknamed Boots, Indian American like me, shared my dream. But what happened to Boots next chilled me to my marrow. He began applying to medical schools, and we both figured he would sail through, get many interviews, and then have his pick. Boots was a year older, and medical school was everything he had worked for since starting at the University of Chicago. His grades and test scores were better than mine because, unlike me, he actually studied. But when he applied to 15 medical schools, got only 2 interviews, and was accepted to exactly 0 schools, he felt like a college running back. He felt like a college running back who thinks he'll go to the Patriots in the second round and is stunned when he's relegated to playing in the CFL. Dang. My moment of clarity came at 3 in the morning at the Golden Nuggets diner on the north side of Chicago as we sobered up from a party. He admitted his predicament, and once I picked my jaw off the table, I resolved that I would do anything within reason to avoid his fate, or maybe not within reason. Now I was terrified. What were my chances of admission to medical school? In the early 1990s, the Division Community and Minority Programs of the Associates of American Medical College devised Project 3000 by... Let me read that. I feel like I read that all kind of wrong. In the early 1990s, the Division of Community and Minority Programs of the Association of American Medical Colleges devised Project 3000 by 2000. This program set the quantitative target, a quota, official or unofficial, of increasing minority enrollment in the United States medical schools from 1,500 to 3,000, to 1990 to 2000. Now I understand. Many medical students, including St. Louis University, where I eventually attended, jumped on this program. But the question was whether, in order to achieve their quantitative goal, medical schools were compromising their academic standards, or were they simply going to aggressively, Or were they simply going to aggressively recruit minority students? The work of Ward Cornely and Ellen and Jerry Cook suggested that many of the medical schools, especially those in the University of California system, chose the former option. The data suggested that the medical schools were discriminating against their Asian American and white students and in favor of their black and Hispanic applicants. I may not have studied all that hard in my economics and statistics class, but I knew enough to realize that anecdotal evidence was not enough to draw valuable conclusions. I had to work the problem. I studied the statistics and data made public by the Association of American Medical Colleges and came to the surprising conclusion the data suggested that an Indian American with my grades, a 3.1 GPA, and test scores of a 31 MCAT was unlikely to gain admission to medical schools, but an African American with the same grades and test scores had a high probability of admission. Dang, wow. While I wasn't able to pin down the exact number, I reasonably could calculate that African American or Hispanic applicants had as much of a 30 to 40% better chance of acceptance than I. This number left me speechless, but it also started my wheels turning. I ran across a newspaper article about Ramal Nambi, an Indian who lied about being black to gain admission to medical school. This was the first time. Nambi got caught because he lied about a bunch of other stuff on his application, such as being National Merit Scholar, not because he lied about his race. Light bulb. I wonder if I could pull it off being completely honest about everything except, of course, my race. And here we go what he did. I shaved my head, trimmed my long Indian eyelashes, joined the University of Chicago's organization of black students. A black friend ran it, knew my scam, and got me in it. Oh! And began applying to medical schools as a black man. I transposed my middle name with my first name and became JoJo, the African-American applicant. And then we got a little screenshot of his Indian and African-American applicants. So we got this Indian-American Vijay, 30.0 college GPA, 31 MCAT score, member of the Southern Asian Student Association. And then we got the African-American one, the African-American Affirmative Action Association, or applicant, JoJo, 3.1, pretty much everything same except for the member of the organization of black students. I was always in a state of terror that I would be found out. During one interview at Case Western Reserve University, I knew this was coming. I knew this was coming. I knew it was going to be exactly my country, too. I was confronted by a black doctor and admissions committee member. He barraged me with questions about my family and personal background. I said my family came from Nigeria. He said his family came from Nigeria.
It's always us.
It was technically correct because my Indian parents had lived in Nigeria before moving to the States.
A lot of them do.
Finally, he said, eyes cold and more of a question than a statement, I read your application. It says you're black. I nodded. To my astonishment, they sent me a letter of invitation. Most of my friends were supportive, although for the longest time they saw it as a fraternity joke. That is until I got waitlisted at the Washington University School of Medicine. A few, including my girlfriend, disapproved. It made no difference to me because I was a man on a mission. She and I eventually broke up. What I wasn't prepared for was the startling change in the way people treated the black me. Oh, I don't want to get into this part.
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
No.
You ready into this?
We have to.
Okay.
That's the full thing.
Fair. What I wasn't prepared for was the startling change in the way people treated the black me. People became suspicious, even hostile. Walking to class one morning, a lone female student ran into a snowy field to avoid me. One evening, I was driving my shiny red. The reason I didn't want to get into this was because he's trying to play like I know now the black experience because I pulled the stunt. I feel like this is a scapegoat for him. That's why I didn't want to get into it to explain myself. But
okay. No, I know you weren't ill-intentioned.
Well, I gotta look.
Yeah, for the people.
But one evening I was driving my shiny red Toyota 4Runner truck slightly under the speed limit. A cop pulled me over and seemed irritated, bluntly asking how I could afford such an expensive car. One morning I went to the grocery store I'd frequently for 3 years to buy some junk food to tamp down a hellacious frat party hangover. I made my purchase and headed to the door when suddenly their security guard stepped in my way and accused me of shoplifting. I protested, so he threw me to the floor and rifled through my bag. Riffled through my bag? Nothing remotely like this had ever happened when I was just another Indian doctor's son. Walking in black men's shoes dimmed much of the youthful enthusiasm I had about my deception. And it certainly wasn't a cakewalk being a black applicant. I had to pass through a long and arduous, is that that word? Arduous admissions process that was typical for a medical school applicant, but in the end, I achieved my goal. I got into the St. Louis University School of Medicine. Once in med school, I relaxed a bit because it was easy to blend in. Within 150 students, nobody ever asked me any questions about my race, probably because medical school was just too hectic. Yeah, makes sense. After 2 years and a lot of soul searching, I realized I wasn't cut out to be a doctor. I dropped out of medical school for many reasons, but not being black was not one of them. Even if I never became a doctor, at least my sister did on television. So he didn't even. Wow. Oh, wow. That was a crazy. That's not even where the end of it is, but that's where I want to end it right there.
Oh, it has to end there.
That's where I want to end it right there. Wow. 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 Wow, wow, wow.
Wait.
Wait, is that really his
His
sister?
sister's Mindy from The Office? I mean,
Whatever this show is.
yeah, but yeah, Shorty from The Office.
I don't want to talk about her. I want to talk about him. So, do you...
First off, all his information as far as statistically, there's no way to really prove.
That was a little bit of a long read. Sorry, guys, but this is actually really freaking interesting.
There's no way to prove. I mean, if did he say he got rejected?
I don't know if he got
Because
rejected.
all these put the pictures with the rejected on it to me is a little misleading too. Because if he only put in one application.
Yeah. And even if he did put in any application, wouldn't they see the similarities? Like, this
And
is a
he never
little-
gave himself a chance to make it.
He was just too afraid. He was just too insecure because his friend, who was, as he stated, better than him, didn't make it.
And you know what he thought in his mind? Honestly speaking, I may not be better than all the Indians, but I'll be better than the black people applying. And that's what we're not discussing here. Because he felt that that was more his competition.
That's why I didn't like that he tried to say that. I
And that's
walked in a
what-
black man's shoes. Now I
No,
understand.
that's
This
why
is a
we needed
scapegoat.
to
Why-
say that, because that's what people do. That's what people do. They use
Yeah.
it when it's convenient. Then all of a sudden, oh, you want the sympathy of a black guy because you went through whatever he goes through for however many days he went through it, right? But then you decided you had the option to just stop. Oh, medical school is not even for me. So if you got in based on the merit, if your theory, based on your own theory, based on your own theory, if you believe you got in because you're black and not because of whatever else, right? Then you took that opportunity from somebody black, didn't even use it, and then kept it pushing.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if he used it because he thought he was better. I thought he just thought he had a better chance because he
Why?
had a higher probability. Because according to his statistics, he had a 30 to 40% higher chance of being admitted into medical school,
Based off the fact that he was black. So he
being
could compete
being
better
black with the
black
exact same
people.
grades he had versus being Indian with the exact
What
same
I'm saying
grades.
is he didn't feel he could compete with the rest of the Indians applying to that school. He felt he could compete with the black people applying.
I don't think he felt, because even when he got in, he still had to compete with everybody else. I think more so he just thought he
You're
had a
talking
higher
about getting in.
probability.
You're talking about after he got in. I'm talking about getting in, the process, right? He said he felt, and first off, he didn't get rejected as an Indian. So he only got accepted as the black guy. He never applied as the Indian.
No,
And
I
then-
think he just thought that affirmative action would secure him a spot easier than it would if he was
Yeah,
Indian.
Doc, I'm agreeing with you, but what you're not understanding is affirmative action, it doesn't just apply to one black kid, it applies to all the black kids, correct? Not even just black kids, but minority, right? So if it applies to all the minorities, which he's associating with black people, what he's telling himself is affirmative action. If it says we need 10 black people to go to this school, regardless of whatever's going on, he can compete and get a spot more likely from those 10 black people than he could from the Indian people who were applying. He thought he had a better chance with his grades if he was black against the black people who would be applying and trying to get in under affirmative action.
I agree with you. I just don't think it was malicious intent.
It doesn't have to be. And
Yeah.
that's my point.
Yeah,
I don't think it was malicious at all, but it doesn't have to
Maybe
be.
it resulted in malicious though. That's what I think. I think that's the problem. His intent wasn't malicious.
He
but
wasn't
the problem is
considerate.
it resulted in maliciousness. Like, you can't tell me this, like, or well, maybe that's a question then. Do you not think this wasn't malicious?
I think it was selfish.
Yeah,
Because
inconsiderate. I agree.
No,
yeah,
I
he
definitely
was just
agree with
kind
that.
of pushing himself through it, but I don't think he was being like like I'm gonna kick one out. Yeah, I'm gonna take one of their spots.
But that's
Okay,
what
but no, no, no,
happened.
let me put it
though.
like-
But
let me put it
that's
like
what
this.
happened.
Let me put it like this.
But
There are
that's what
people
happened. That's why it resulted in maliciousness.
in high
because
moments of stress.
He took, like I agree with John. He took someone's spot. He took another black man's potential spot that could have gone to medical school. Even though his intentions may not have been malicious, it resulted in maliciousness. He denied someone access to medical school, and he ended up dropping out and not pursuing it to the end.
And he almost made light of it, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. And then and not only that, in
Maybe I'm
moments
being
of high
extreme
pressure.
and
No,
intense like
you're
I
not.
usually am, but
You're fine. In moments of high pressure, okay, right? You have fight or flight, correct? So in moments of high pressure, let's say put everybody in a Royal Rumble, everybody has to fight. The non-fighter will try and find the smallest person to beat up. Okay? He had a moment of pressure, high pressure. He thought he couldn't get in because of his friend not getting into the schools he wanted. So he thought he couldn't get into the schools that he would want to go to. So that's the pressure, right? Now, in moments of pressure, you have fight or flight. Now, instead of fighting and competing with who he was and how he was born and whatever he has to go through just to apply regularly, he chose to fly. He chose a cowardice way. He chose something out of desperation. So it's not malicious because, it's not malicious, but cowards, given the opportunity, regardless of how we describe this as he was scared to compete as himself. There's no other way to describe
I
it.
don't disagree with that.
You know what I'm saying? And so when you're scared to compete against yourself, and now you have to pick a target.
As yourself, yeah.
You have to pick a target you can
To
compete
compete
with,
against, yeah.
whatever realm it is. If it's fighting, if it's basketball, if it's whatever it is. If you're scared to do one thing and you still want to compete in that realm, you have to find a smaller target. And so he found his smaller target. Now the question is, why did he pick that specific target? Because it just said minorities.
No, I think the answer to your question is in what you just said too, though, where it was just a smaller target and it was easier.
Yeah, so he just picked African American because maybe he looked closer to them. He thought he could pull it off.
Yeah, he probably thought, and he had the friend that could get him on the in with the club.
So would
and stuff
Indians
like that.
not be considered a minority?
So here's the issue with this, and this is actually something I was thinking about recently. So when you get into like advanced like medical groups and stuff like that, like Asian Americans make up a large amount of classes that go into medical school.
Correct.
And so they have their quota and they fill up fast. And it's really competitive. So he thought he could compete in a different quota. And the whole idea of the quota itself, as opposed to it not being like a meritocracy, where it's just like the best people would just get in there, regardless of what their race is, it calls in question affirmative action. Because that means that they can only accept 30 Asians, but they can accept 40 black people and 40 Latin people and then 20 whites.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go in and they basically compete and they have like their small pools, as opposed to if the number is just 200 of whoever has the best scores no matter what gets in, it makes it a little bit more difficult. And that's why
I agree.
think he got
I don't believe in
scared.
affirmative action. I don't think that's the proper way to go about things. I think that the original sentiment behind it was good, but I don't think it's a concept that you can actually
It was not
apply. Yeah, you can't apply it. You just can't apply it. But I understand it. You don't want any group shunned out of anything just based off of their. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with you there. I agree, but affirmative action itself is stupid. I do agree with that. You know what I'm saying?
They're trying to wedge in like
So
people
do we blame
with lower incomes and stuff like that, and make a fast lane for them to.
But
at
do
least
we have
somebody
blame-
gets in there.
It goes
But
to the
when
point
we-
you made in the past podcast, Doc. I forgot what the specific topic was, but it was like, are we going to start having quotas now for minorities?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you got to have X amount of black people working here now,
But
otherwise you're going to
But
get.
then the thing is that, okay, so the full conversation, like I said, I agree with affirmative action being stupid, but then the conversation exists, why did somebody feel it was needed?
Right. Why do they feel like affirmative action was needed?
Yeah.
I think that affirmative action was a way to introduce money into really low income communities. So like if you're born in a low income school, and it's okay, we'll just go with like the blatant like obvious thing where it's just like Latinos and like African Americans in the United States usually are on the poorer side of the country.
Correct.
So they go to the lower schools, at least the lower public schools. They have the least amount of resources, and you want to try to inject money into that community. So you get the best one from that pool, and you fast lane them to becoming a doctor, and then you send them back into the community, and now that community has a doctor, and there's money that goes in there, or they're being doctors for that like group of poor people when they go back home and stuff like that, or maybe they open a practice in their hometown. So there is like some benefits
the
to
sentiment
it.
is good,
Yeah, it's
but
just
the application, you're just gonna
it's
piss
just, it gets
everybody
kind of
off.
difficult.
You're gonna piss everybody off because nobody could come to my business and tell me I have to hire this, and I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, that's
You
where
get what I'm
it starts
saying?
crossing the line.
100%. So I get it, but that's not an excuse for what he did. Because something exists, that's not an excuse for what he did. Because it's just not the way the world works. We don't often just because this, and then at the end of the day, he's still benefiting off something that there's no other way he took it from a black person. Whether the rule is good or it exists because it was bad or whatever, if they had a quota for black people, he took a spot from a black person.
He is a professional resume writer and college and graduate school admissions consultant.
Admissions
for the LA
consultant.
Resume Surface and Interview SOS. He's working on a book, Almost Black.
It's probably already out now. This article is like 6 years old.
And he mounted,
Wow.
and that's the
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
the other thing too that I was wondering is like, with affirmative action, there's talk of affirmative action moving from just like public schools or universities to also corporations and stuff like that. And I was thinking, like, could you use affirmative action in sports? A completely what's the word I'm looking for? Like a meritocracy. It's what's supposed to be like the highest level of meritocracy, literally the best of the best. Obviously, there's politics with trading and money and all that stuff, and like potential candidates and rookies and training up people and stuff like that. But like, could you imagine a basketball team where they capped the number of African American athletes, and they were like, nah, we need to get at least one Asian guy in here because we need to hit our quota. So we're actually not going to get this rookie who's a star rookie, and we're actually just going to put in this guy because we have to meet this quota.
Yeah, it's entertainment. All the fields that you're going to mention about black people are going to be entertainment fields. And that's to me is a I don't agree with affirmative action. But like, for example, this last sentence says, some Asian Americans and whites believe they are victims of affirmative action, discrimination, and can feel resentment about it. Affirmative action also furthers negative stereotypes about the professionalism and the competency of African Americans, Native Americans, and Hispanic professionals by making it seem like they need the special treatment.
The only reason why I could think, if I tried to understand the mentality, the purpose of affirmative action, the reasons why they try to bring it into existence was some schools have more, what's the word I'm thinking of? Not notoriety, but prestigious. There we go.
100%.
So, for example, if you go to school, let's say in California schools are probably more prestigious than, let's say, a school in Montana.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's say a black student in Montana is like a 4.0 student, high GPA, top 10% of their class. They're less likely to get into a medical, let's say, a college of their choice compared to someone in California. I think that was the purpose of affirmative action, is to give those kind of students at least a flashlight showing them, hey, don't forget, these people out here who are also
100%.
smart exist and need some opportunities. It just seemed like affirmative action kind of devolved into, we just want to give minorities access to these prestigious opportunities that they probably might not be capable of doing.
But that's the point. That's the point right there. Now they look like they're not capable of doing it. And that's my actual problem with affirmative action. Because I don't need you to make me, I don't need that. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's just me personally. There are situations, there are businesses, there are fields where they do need to be more diverse. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're talking about owners of teams or you're talking about stuff like that, yeah, sure, you can add some diversity. You shouldn't force it, but I can get you having a rule or something about that. But that's within the NFL to decide or the NBA to decide, not government to come in and say, you guys have to have
That
this
just goes to our
quota.
political beliefs.
You know
I
what
just
I'm
don't
saying?
believe government should be
To
involved
ever,
in almost anything.
ever.
That's the one time you hop off the fence.
100%.
Well, I think also part of a key issue with it is that you end up capping a race or a culture when you do it. So, like, as much as people want to avoid the stereotypes, like, I do think that Asian Americans culturally appreciate doctors a lot more, and so it's ingrained within their culture that they should probably compete for that position. So they do it. And every culture kind of has like that one thing they kind of chase to an extent. Obviously, like individuals vary across, but for the most part, like if you whatever culture you're part of, like if you really sit down and analyze it, you can see like what you're kind of being pushed towards, or at least what everyone else around you is competing for. And I think at a certain point, like when one culture gets too good at something, they cap it with affirmative action. Like what just happened here, like with him as an Indian American, he's basically capped because he has to fight against other Indian Americans way harder than he does for other races to just kind of walk in where he would have normally.
Yeah, I feel that. I agree with that. But it's just, I mean, it is what it is. But it just seems like it's just a concept that's just not. It just doesn't seem beneficial for anybody involved.
It was more like a Band-Aid on the problem than actual fixing
of the problem. Because, like,
and it created the problem.
For example, the initial problem is, why don't these communities have the resources they need? The schools. That's the initial problem. Because if all the schools have the same resources, or all the schools are taken care of the same way, I'm talking about public schools and all that stuff, then this necessarily isn't an issue. This is trying to flash a flashlight on, you made it out of this situation. You're the best out of this. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I get it. It's cool. I just don't like how it looks. I don't like the word token. I don't like anything. And quota, none of that shit. It doesn't. I can't agree to it.
All right.
Wendy Williams looks like a man.
Oh my gosh. Let's end the podcast on some kind of question Doc had for us. Kind of simmer down a little bit. So Doc had a question about romance. So Doc, bring us into it.
Yeah, I'll take us into the manscape of things, I guess.
We should get a goddamn sponsorship.
For my, we should get a button or some shit that like drops down like a fucking sound that goes off. Yeah, I kind of wanted to raise the question where that line is between hopeless romantic and simping, and the perspective you have on that. Because something that I was thinking, and it's funny that we were talking about this last thing about cultures and stuff like that, is that within my culture, as you know, a Latin American, not pure Latin American, but Mexican American, it's okay to be a hopeless romantic. It's enticed that you show your emotions publicly, and like there's a con to it though. The pro is that you get the whole stereotype of the Latin lover and the, all that stuff that's been born out of those ideas and stuff, and you get mostly like sexually aggressive men. But the con is that you get really macho men. You get the same mentality that says I can take that woman. Also, when you're pissed at her, is the same mentality you're gonna have at her. So there's a negative to it. My thing is though, like with the internet culture booming and the whole idea of simping and kind of the whole red pill, blue pill thing and stuff like that, where people are like, okay, what are the lines that I draw with women, and at what point is it okay for me to just kind of let it all out? Where do y'all think that falls?
I got you. I think it falls in the reciprocation. So like if the girl isn't reciprocating the romanticism or whatever, it's still different if you're chasing and you're hopelessly chasing. So that's why I wanted to ask you about the word hopeless romantic, as far as explaining the hopeless part in front of it, what it means to you. But from my point of view, like if I'm just doing a whole bunch of romantic gestures to try and win the affection of a girl, that's more of a hopeless romantic. Whereas if I'm giving this girl money and buying her things, like a gesture is, I got us reservations, or flowers, something small, something, you know what I'm saying? Those are gestures, romantic gestures. But as far as just buying you things, when it becomes a monetary or a what can you do for me type situation, that's when you're simping, because you're not even receiving actual attention back from simping, in my opinion.
So then is flowers on a first date hopeless romanticism, or is it simping?
I think that's just regular romanticism. Sorry if I'm old. Flowers are simping. You could throw the flowers away. I'm not gonna lose sleep over flowers. But goddamn, if I give you $500 just to lick your booty sweat, that's simping. You know what I'm saying?
That's hardcore simping. Buy your
That's
fucking
simping.
bathwater.
So the line for me would be the second the man understands I'm gonna get nothing from this situation. He not like relationship. You get what I'm saying? Because like simping, you're almost sharing the bitch. Like the bitch is just doing whatever she's doing, and whenever you can get in or fit in, you have to pay your way in or you have to bribe your way into the affection circle
Little
or
circle
whatever
she
it
had.
is.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
get what I'm on. But hopeless romanticism is I see something I like, and I still believe I can personally date this person. I still believe I can personally get this person, but I'm doing things to try and facilitate that. Whereas one is just, I'm buying your attention or buying your time. I'm paying for your time.
Does one so one difference I want to see if we all agree on, or if there is a difference when it comes to hopeless romantic and a simp. So you've established the actions. Now, the continuation of these actions. If the hopeless romantic continues without seeing any results, does it evolve into a simp?
Yes, if he believes the actions will be the thing that gets him the girl and not himself. So it's like, yeah, I'm being romantic because I want you to get to dinner with me and then talk to me, get to know me, da-da-da-da-da. But now it becomes a point where it's like your gestures just become the thing to, oh, I need to get her attention. So the gesture's probably getting bigger or whatever you're doing. But it's more about the gesture rather than the conclusion. So it's like, I just want attention for the gesture now instead of
Who I am as a
I
person.
want to go on a date with her and I know any bitch in the room talk to me for 30 minutes, boom. You know what I'm saying? Instead of having that confidence in himself, it's just kind of like, okay, what can I do to get her attention right now?
Okay, so it sounds like the tricky thing and the fragile thing is your self-respect.
I think
Like,
that
you-
is the line, yeah.
If you can hold on to it, then it's fine. Because honestly, like with hopeless romanticism, like I said, like I think it's kind of fun. But I do notice that like to keep myself safe throughout it, I have a level of detachment. Like if I give flowers or something like that, like I don't really care. I'm just like, here you go, and then like I just kind of like, yeah, just walk it off or not walk it off because it's not even something that hurt me. It's just something that I just felt like doing. I didn't care if there was a reciprocation. I just wanted to do it.
You added so much logic into the action of what you're doing that you kind of protected yourself from any negative conclusion. Like if I'm cooking for a bitch and I'm hungry, well, you just, you know what I'm saying, you got lucky. But like I didn't cook for you. You know what I'm saying? And then the girl might be like, "Oh, you could, you're so rude." And I'll be like, "Oh, thank you." But I won't even let the thing sit, to be honest with you. I'm bad like that. I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I mean shit. We had to eat." I'm gonna explain it in a way it's like, shit, we had to eat. The food, we're human beings, we need to eat, ain't it? Ain't nothing romantic about surviving.
You take the romance out of it.
Take it completely out, even though it is a romantic act.
I'm not gonna lie to you. It's kind of hard to ask John these questions because he's so cynical when it comes to dating.
Dog.
Because my perspective of how I see it is, I agree with Doc. For me, it's like a dance. There's a give and take because girls want something out of dating, and us men, we want something out of dating. And I'm willing to at least do my part as a man when it comes to dating, and that's being how I see it as a hopeless romantic. I don't do this that often. Like I said in a previous podcast, a girl checked me on it, and I was like, I appreciate that. Oh, you checked me.
No,
Opening up doors for her.
But you're right. You're not being wrong. It's on the girl's point of view then. Because if the girl, you could bring flowers to a girl and she could call you a simp, and you could bring flowers to another girl and she could say you're romantic, just based off how she feels about
yeah.
you.
Just like how a guy could go up to a girl and say, hey girl, want to take a walk on the wild side? He could be an ugly ass dude and he's a creep. It could be a hot ass dude and oh my man, he's,
Spontaneous.
dreamy, spontaneous, exactly, whatever.
Yeah, so I'm right
It
there
all
with
depends-
you. It all depends on
Okay.
so the self-respect, and then obviously, like I said, the reciprocation. What is the girl
So which
present?
one weighs more?
Your
The
self-respect
or the
first.
Okay.
Yeah, it has to
You
be
can't
self-respect.
lose that chasing a bitch. Pardon all the B words, but you can't do that. You can't. You just can't. Because once you do, you're ashamed. Now, simping, let me tell you something about simping. It's hard to tell stories about it.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story about sipping. It is hard to tell stories because you look back on it, it's like, wow, why did I get that far? There was this girl I was talking.
You think you're about to? It's hard to tell a story.
I'll say the Secret Santa story.
Oh. Oh my God, dude.
This is a bad one.
Do you remember how I felt? Do you remember how I reacted?
No, all y'all. I kind of imagine y'all didn't express it harder. Maybe y'all did, and I was just completely delusional of it.
God.
So there was this Secret Santa I was a part of, and there was this girl I was talking to. And to keep it short and simple, I bought this girl almost...
Hold on. Let's keep it long and simple. Somehow, he ended up drawing the bitch.
Mike.
I'm looking at I'm angry. Somehow, he ended up drawing the bitch. Like... Somehow. And she's in charge of the Secret Santa. And so, all these people pick random people, right, out the hats. But Gene gets her, and she knows Gene likes her.
We're talking.
It's fate.
But either way, long story short, John had to put the little detail in, not necessarily wrong. But either way, I ended up buying like everything she listed on her list.
And did she add to it?
Yeah, I think she added an item.
No.
And I got the item. We all do it sometimes, man. We have to live through. We have to realize that sometimes we have simp tendencies. We have to recognize it, and we got to work on it.
How expensive were the items? Or were they at least meaningful?
They weren't. They weren't like anything.
I think everything
expensive.
came up to like $200.
Yeah, because you know me, I'm a cheap motherfucker. I'm not gonna like. It wasn't like I bought her a shitload of like $200 items. They were all
simple. Did you buy her cat something?
I don't think so. I don't remember all the items I bought, but I'll tell you right now, it wasn't like I bought her a bunch of $50 to $100 things. It was just an accumulation of small things.
But I know Gene, and so if you know Gene like I know Gene, and how fickle he is with money, they were the equivalent of goddamn $200 things because Gene don't like spending money like that. And so for even
honestly, that's how you know I like you. If I'm willing to spend money on you, I like you.
Oh man.
Wait, let me ask you this, Gene. Did she add on to the list after she found out you got her?
She knew.
Well, the Secret Santa, you're not supposed to know who's got it.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
like Doc said, she's in charge of it.
She knew.
I don't know if she knew.
She knew.
Okay.
She probably did. I don't know.
I think that's actually...
And you know what's the worst part?
Okay.
You know what the worst part is?
just
Gene
like,
asked us before he
her.
went to go buy it. He was like, oh, I'm probably going to buy... I was like, bro, don't get more than 2 things on her list, bro. He said, okay. He got the whole list.
Everything.
The whole scroll. The Dead Sea Scroll, boy. Whipped it out. Oh, man. That ungrateful.
John was there, too, for the reveal that he could not contain himself.
I couldn't do it. I hid my face in shame. Cause I wanted better for my boy.
How did it go, though? Did it play out well, or did you get a date at least? Like,
oh, no, yeah. We were, like, it's not that it was a one-sided crush. Like, we liked each other. We were talking. We went on.
But there was just something off about her side of things. Did that make sense? Like she was disingenuous about something.
Gotcha.
I don't till today don't know what it is, but there was just something that always seemed like.
I don't know. All I know
But you know what I'm saying though?
That was an example of me being a simp. I look back on it like John said. It's true. It's shame.
It's
shame. When you do simp things, the feeling is shame.
Oh, I can tell you about the time I simped. I was in the 5th grade.
Get out of here. I don't even want to hear this story.
I was in the 5th grade, man.
5th grade.
Actually, I think Gene was with me one time I simped. Yeah, you remember that Christmas when I left Christmas morning to go over to see that girl?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. I had driven an hour and a half to go to Gene's family's place to spend Christmas morning the next day with them. I woke up, was with them for like 20 minutes, got a text, and drove 4 hours up to go to where I needed to go to spend time with her and her family. And I was just like, damn.
Was this your girlfriend, though?
It was my girlfriend, but yeah.
I
felt
simping. You getting some?
I felt like I was simping, man. I was so fucking livid on that entire drive.
You just
up
know
there.
you wouldn't do that shit again. You weren't simping, but you told yourself never again.
I was just like, man, I had told her everything. Like, I was like, hey, I'm gonna go spend Christmas morning with Gene and his family. This was gonna go down. The next day, just like, I can't believe you're there, and I was just like, what?
Oh, that's the text you got. Oh, damn.
But y'all weren't really dating that long at the time, were y'all?
It was like 6-7 months,
Oh, okay.
and Christmas just happened to come around.
All right. Well, I think we're in the topic there with me exposing some of my sim
Her name
tendencies
was
back in the
Stephanie
day.
De Jesus.
I don't even hear this 5th grade story that doesn't even matter anymore. We were 5th grade. Share a
Dude,
story, a
I thought
recent
she was
story.
the one.
Mine was at least recent. I'll be honest. That happened like, what, 3-4 years ago?
Dude, I thought she was the one, man.
All right, y'all. That's enough fake deep thinking. Make sure you follow our
I
Facebook
found out
page,
she
Fake
danced on
Deep
Devin
Thinking.
at the
Make
dance.
sure you follow our Twitter podcast,
She
FDT.
danced on Devin, and I still stayed
Follow our
with her.
YouTube page, Fake Deep Thinking. Make sure you leave a like, a comment, and share.
Stephanie.
Please share. It helps us grow.
I
See y'all
miss you.
next time
Come
on
back,
Fake Deep
Stephanie.
Thinking. Peace.
I miss
John's
you,
still
baby.
searching
Come
for-
back.